And the spectators out here on San Francisco Bay in their boats are getting some awesome action. You see we've got an umpire boat right in the middle there. He's got to keep an eye on what these two boats are doing. So this is the game of cat and mouse. Who can get what we call the hook? Who can get underneath and control the other boat? So Tom Slingsby, he'd be pretty good at this, I would think.
If you're the Australian team, you know they're vulnerable. You're just going to wait till they make a mistake and pounce.
And we've got about 40-odd seconds listening into Japan there, and they've got nothing. So all they've got to do is go on instinct. Australia trying to get the hook. Japan coming in to try and block them. You can see the start line in the middle of the screen there. 27 seconds to go. This is getting pretty close. Team Japan are losing a little bit of stability there on the boat. They're just trying to wash off some speed because they don't know how far they are away from that start line, surely.
Yeah, but the Aussies know. They have all the tools.
You would think that maybe they got their eyes on the Aussies. If they pull the trigger, Japan will pull the trigger too. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. And we are racing for the final race here in San Francisco. I'd call it an even start.
That is an even start. Extraordinary sailing from the Japanese team.
Wow, with no electronics, just instinct, pure instinct had to come into that whole team of Nathan Outridge, Ian Jensen, Luke Parkinson, Leo Takahashi and Yuki Kasastani, all wanting to get the medals after this race. Nice little bit of breeze about to come in. The Australians look like they're going to roll over the top of the Japanese. Can they keep that boat stable? This is where it's all on. 40 knots, probably 5-10 metres apart. Now Japanese can control a little bit here. They can take the Australians all the way to the boundary. Australians cannot do anything until Japan want them to.
Yeah, remember, this is match racing. It's not about doing the course in the fastest time. It's just about doing it faster than the other guy.
And what they've got to try and do is get a penalty on the other guy. If they get a penalty, then the other boat has to go in behind and wash their penalty off. Advantage to Japan. Looks like Japan are going to go into their jibe, because they're coming towards the boundary. Holding him in. Oh, Team Australia, they're just throwing it at Team Japan. Have to react. That could be interesting. Will they press the button there? Slingsby definitely threw a little bit of a fake jibe, I guess, into Japan. And now they're smoking on down along the riverfront or the shorefront there towards this bottom mark. Looks like no penalties have been occurred by other boats. You can see Japan just rolling over the top of Australia, but Australia now starting to pick up speed. Australia has got the advantage.
Tom Slingsby worried about his speed all week in training and yesterday. No worries when it counts in this final race, this one-on-one battle to be the king of the bay.
And here's the race into the boundary, or the zone, and it's Australia in first. Japan nice and tight. Both boats. Oh, it's very close to contact. That had to be so close. Japan nearly put their bow right through the middle of Australia. Oh my God, that would have been a moment, that's for sure. Looks like they've survived, but what they have done is sat down and let Australia just sail off in the distance and put in quite a big gap. Have a go at how close this is here. Australia just coming in, Japan trying to come down and soak into the mark. You watch it, both boats will turn up, and Japan lose their flight and literally go underneath Australia. How they didn't take their rudder out, I have no idea. Australia very close to a boundary there, so they've got to keep their eye on that sort of thing too. They would hate to lose off that.
That's the risk. If you get too high, you can slip sideways, exactly what Nathan did there.
Yeah, the pressure is on. They know there is no coming back after this race. This is the finals. Different angle of what we just seen before. So we're looking down at Australia. Watch the bow of Japan go up, and literally just how it didn't hit that rudder. Oh my God, that would have been game over for both boats.
The Aussie had to give them room to let them in, and they did that. But yeah, they just flew too high and slipped sideways, the Japanese team.
Wow, you can just see these boats are on the edge sailing, and a little tiny mistake like that has cost Japan quite dearly, because Australia now in control.
A little bit of pace.
You can hear Nathan Outridge there just talking about a little bit of pace setting up for attack. We're on board here with the team from Australia: Tom Slingsby, Kyle Langford, Jason Waterhouse, Sam Newton and Kai Hurst, all wanting to be the winners here in San Francisco, as they were in Australia. A little bit of a split there, Shirley. That's quite interesting that Tommy is happy for him to let him go to the right-hand side.
Well, obviously, of course, the Japanese, they haven't got any electronics telling them, you know, the rake numbers or the numbers of the wing. So they're not only winging it on the race course, they're flying blind here.
And that is going to be very, very hard to keep the boat speed going, because if you get your rake wrong, you just lose so much boat speed. So it's coming all down to feel for everything for this team. They've had such a good weekend. Coming into yesterday, won all 3 races. Hydro problem in the first race. Before the first race, the wheels have fallen off the campaign a little bit, but they're still in the final.
The Japanese team have had so much going on their boat. Every time you look at it, there's a technician on board trying to solve a problem. They've got good speed now, though, Jody.
They have indeed. They are coming across, but Team Australia are in the zone and they can get up and go around the top gate. Japan now have to do their tack. So Australia off towards the bottom. Japan now, what options have they got, Shirley? What can they do to try and get back to Australia?
Well, exactly the right thing, Jody. They, you know, splitting sides, get a bit of freedom. Hopefully there's more pressure also on the left-hand side of the screen here, so they may well be able to just get a little bit more pace.
Is this a Hail Mary move, or is it just something you have to do?
I feel for the Japanese, you know, they were so locked in yesterday, and just things today just haven't gone their way. Very hard to sail these really highly technical boats just in the seat of your pants. Very difficult.
Have a go how close the spectators get to see Australia going through their jibe. They are literally 50 metres off the shore, and off that graphic have absolutely bashed the Japanese. 160 odd metres. Australia haven't looked comfortable all weekend. They've just done enough, and it looks like at this stage they're going to be 2 wins from 2 events. Amazing.
Think back to the week of training. They were the boat that nearly capsized. They're complaining about their speed all week. They had no answers to the pace and the consistency of the Japanese. It's a different story now.
At this stage it certainly is, but as we've been saying all week, it only takes one thing to go wrong and this race can be back on. Game on.
Tom Slingsby said to me this morning, if we haven't caught him up, if we haven't caught Nathan up by the end of today, he's going to be peed off.
Well,
Let's see.
I don't think he'd be that cranky at the moment, because he is leading into the bottom mark for the final time. Half a work to go, 3/4 of a work to go to get up to the last turner mark, into that gate for the finish for the Chockies. He wants the biscuits. 2 wins from 2. That is pretty dominant in the grand scheme of things, that's for sure.
Japanese struggling to fly here. I mean, I don't know what, they've got all kinds of things going on in their boat.
Well, when you don't know where your main foils are as far as relation to the hulls and all that sort of stuff, they're hard enough to sail the thing when you've got all the information. Imagine how hard it is to sail without it. But they're not giving up. They certainly won't give up. If that team from Japan know anything, it's how to stay in a boat race. And it's 60 odd metres, so they might have made a little bit of a gain there, but that could be just false because of both boats have had attack. Team Australia look pretty good to me.
60 metres in an F50 is not very long.
About a blink of an eye. I've been on it, it's amazing. So what we could see here, Team Japan come right over to the right-hand side and only make one tack and in. Australia recovering. Smart move from the 8-time world champion, Tom Slingsby. Very, very close now, Shirley. It is come back into a race. Ladies and gentlemen, stick where you are. This thing is not over by any stretch. It comes down to this tack. Who can be the best in this tack? Who are you going to back?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. It's getting closer and closer all the time. Both teams so good at executing when they have to under pressure.
Here we go. Japan setting up for their tack, throwing the boat around. Right on the boundary is Nathan Outridge. Tom Slingsby responded. Looks like Slingsby's done a nice job on his tack. Outridge sat down a little bit. The Slingsby's up and foiling pretty quick. Has that been enough for Tom Slingsby to take this into the top mark and in towards the finish for a well-deserved win here in San Francisco?
We can see the gap growing here. I think there's a little bit of wing wash. Bad air coming off the Aussies onto the Japanese.
And here they go, around the final mark, in towards the massive crowd here in San Francisco for the full glory for round 2 of SailGP. Tom Slingsby, Kyle Langford, Jason Waterhouse, Sam Newton, Kai Hurst, take a bow. You've just won here in San Francisco.
Yes! Yes! Yes, boys! Nice, boys. That's how it's done! Yes! That's it. Nice, Frank.
That is quite a moment, Jody.
That is massive. That you don't often see that group of guys that emotional. That is pretty special.